Hey, Robin. Robin Kohler is our guest today on Sewing in Slippers with Sue. So nice to see you, Robin.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. It's been a while since we've seen each other. We met at Quiltville, and I knew of Robin before, but we had never really had time to connect face to face. So I am so pleased to now call Robin a friend. She's my Quiltville friend, and we have so much in common, as we found when we were sitting late at night stitching in the sewing room over at Quiltville. So, Robin, I'm so pleased to have you here with me today.
This
Let's
is
see,
going to
we've
be
got
fun.
Kathy from Ohio on, and hey, ladies, I've just put a whole bunch of. Oops, sorry about that. I don't know how to turn that notification off, and it drives me crazy every time. I've just put a whole bunch of links where you can find Robin on the internet. So we have Robin's website, her Facebook group, her Facebook page, where to find her on Instagram. So, good morning, everybody. I'm happy to have you here, and I am so excited to talk to Robin about her world of applique quilting. Robin, that's something that we share. How did you get your love of applique?
I don't really know because when I first started stitching, when I took my first quilt class, the instructor that I had loved applique, and
Mm-hmm.
I thought she was absolutely insane. I mean, immediately I just thought, you're crazy. Why would you do that?
You didn't love it right away.
I didn't see the point of it until a few years later. I was watching an appliquer on Alex Anderson's Simply Quilts.
Yeah.
And something clicked because I'd always been a doodler and I
Mm-hmm.
had always done other crafts. And I had a whole bin full of nothing but doodles on scraps of paper, all kinds of stuff. And when that moment clicked that I could take those and put them into fabric, that was it. Done.
Oh, isn't that funny? So, when did you actually take your first quilt class? When did you get started?
I got started we were stationed in Puerto Rico
Oh, so you're a
and
military family.
military family stationed in Puerto Rico. And there was another Coast Guard spouse who loved to quilt and basically just wanted some friends, I think. And she said, if anybody wants to learn, come over to the house and I'll teach you.
Oh,
So
wow.
there were three or four of us, I think, and we made a sampler with her. I have
Mm-hmm.
all this stuff with me.
Oh,
We
good.
made a sampler and she took us through the steps, as you do in a basic sampler. But we would get together at her house once a week
Once a
and
week?
and eat chocolate cake and drink rum punch and learn to quilt.
Oh, excellent. What a gift she gave you.
She really did. She has no idea because we lost touch. You move and
Oh.
when you in the military, you lose a lot of people. They just kind of come in and out of your life. And
Yeah. Oh, what a shame. What a shame. Well, first of all, thank you for your service. I know what it's like to be a military family. My dad was not in the Navy, he worked for the Navy. He was in the Air Force, and my brother was in the Air Force. So the
oh, wow.
services
Excellent.
are near and dear to my heart. So thank you for your service. And how many different places have you lived as a result of being a military family?
Oh, I lost count because it's not just my spouse, it's my whole life. I was a military child, then I joined the military, then I met him and I got out and followed him. So
Yeah.
I've lived a
Yep.
lot of places,
I
mostly
guess
here
you
in the
have.
US, though.
Okay. Okay. What was your favorite place to live? What really stands out in your mind?
They all are good and bad in their own way, but I will
Mm-hmm.
say that Puerto Rico probably ended up being our favorite. It was the one that we were the most hesitant about going to. We didn't want to go there. We were selected and directed basically. And
Okay.
once we got there and found some locals and got it was probably one of the best experience. We had a great time there.
Oh, that's wonderful. That makes me so happy. And many of our followers here are saying thank you for your service. And I remember well moving every 2 or 3 years. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's a challenge.
It certainly is. So now, Robin, where do you make your home base?
Right now we're in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
This was his last duty station was in Clearwater. And when he retired, he wanted to stay, so we did.
Oh,
And I had
Clearwater's
a
a
little bit of
beautiful area. Yeah.
it is, but I had a bit of a mini meltdown because, I never imagined living here, number one. And number two, when you've spent your whole life moving every 3, 4 years,
Yeah.
to not ever move again is a little
Yes.
anxiety inducing.
I do get
And at the
that.
4 year mark, I had a little bit of it's time for us to move. Why aren't we leaving?
And I bet you are not a hoarder because you have to move so frequently. You don't get attached to all the stuff.
Yeah, you'd like to
No.
think. I'm really not in other ways, but in the quilting industry, I am. I have way too much stuff.
Well, you're a
You just,
quilter. That goes
I know,
without saying.
exactly. He keeps
So
saying downsize, and I can't.
I totally get that. So, Robin, you are now in the Clearwater, Florida area still. And have you found a good quilting community there?
Yes, there are so many guilds in the Tampa Bay area, so many
Mm.
guilds, which helps my business as well.
Ah, good, good.
But it was really funny because when we moved here, I had joined guilds before, but when we moved to this area, I was researching guilds, and there were a couple of guilds down here that were nothing but handwork.
Wow.
And I found that really intriguing because I had not seen
Yes.
that before.
Hmm.
So the little guild that I belong to, there's really only 25 of us. It's a tiny little group. We all love hand applique, we all love hand quilting, and they're just a really neat bunch of ladies.
Oh, fantastic. So good to find your tribe, to find your
Absolutely.
people that love the same things that you do, and to find that real niche with the hand applique and hand quilting is so unusual these days. So that's fabulous. I love what you said about researching the guilds in your area. So many people don't realize that there are choices out there. If one
Yeah.
guild doesn't fit your style, you can research and find a guild that is going to fit you and your personality. So I'm so glad that you mentioned that because I think that's a really good tip for
It
quilters
is.
is to find your tribe. Now, that doesn't necessarily only have to be in your immediate area, right? Now that we have the internet, we can find our circle of friends, we can find our own fellow quilters right on the internet, and we can connect over things like Facebook Live, Zoom, all these wonderful new tools that we have. Well, Robin, I want to talk a little bit about your business because you have not only been a quilter for many years and then turned into a hand appliquer and a hand quilter, but now you have turned your hobby into your business. Tell me about that. Why did you decide to take your hobby and make it into a business for yourself?
Well, this wasn't the first hobby that this had been considered. Um,
Okay.
many moons ago, before the internet, I had wanted to do a handmade card and stationery business.
Okay, good.
And at the time, we ended up moving again so quick that I just kind of put that on the back burner. And the
Hmm.
next place we moved to, I was talking to another military spouse, and she was looking at some of my drawings and stuff, and she hired me to do children's murals in her kids' room. And so she was pushing that should be, you should do this for a living. You should do children's murals. And I said, well, I would love to do children's murals, but all of those businesses require word of mouth buildup.
Yeah.
And trying to run a word of mouth business in a military family is not doable because once you start to get there, you're going to leave.
Right.
And along the way, the internet arrived. Woohoo! And when I decided that quilting would be the business, at that point it became doable. It was something that you could have a website, you could take the business with you wherever you were going to be. And
Yes, yes,
so
fantastic.
everything just kind of aligned as far as the work I had already done to become an artist, having the internet, the timing of learning how to quilt, all of it just came together at the
It
right
just
time.
gelled.
Hmm.
Fantastic. Now you've gone on to expand your business beyond writing patterns and working with the fabric companies, working with guilds. Now you have also included become a quilt historian or an appraiser. Which one is it, or is it both?
I guess it's probably both, but I'm a quilt appraiser. Yes.
You're a
I'm
quilt appraiser as
certified
well.
through American Quilt Society, and
Excellent.
it was an interesting process. It wasn't anything I ever imagined me doing. I
Really?
I moved here, and that handwork guild that I found, there was a certified appraiser in the guild. She and I became very friendly, and she knew I had a business, so she knew I was professional in what I did. And she kept saying to me, "Don't you want to be a quilt appraiser?" And I said, "No, that's a lot of work. I don't want to do that." And she, every now and then, she would interject it into the conversation. So she very slyly invited me to the Jacksonville, Florida Quilt Show,
Mhm.
which is 7 guilds that come together and put on a fabulous show every year.
Oh,
I
wonderful.
highly recommend that show.
Okay, good.
And she was the appraiser for that show.
Yeah.
So she said, "I really don't want to travel alone. You have any interest in coming to the show? We could share the hotel, blah, blah, blah." And I said, "Yeah, that sounds great. Let's do it." Not thinking about the fact that I would sit in her booth for the next 3 days going, "But how do you know that? But how did you know that?" And at the end of 3 days, she said, "Because you want to be an appraiser." And I said, "Oh, do I?"
Oh,
So I
that is
spent
my
two, huh?
I said that is my dream come true, Robin. I want to be you when I grow up.
Do it. Just all you need a mentor. I would highly recommend a mentor.
Yes, yes.
And she was fabulous. And I followed her for 2.5 years. Every time she was doing local shows here, I was at the show with her, being her helper and just absorbing everything she said. And I went through the steps. I took the class at Paducah. There's a 3-day class offered through American Quilter Society at the Paducah show every year, which allows you to get a feel for what it is
Mm-hmm.
and lets you decide whether you'd be interested or not.
Okay.
And I took the class and knew I was all in. I'd already spent all this time. So, yeah, then I tested. There's an oral test and a written test, and then got certified in 2019.
Fantastic. How long did that whole process take you?
Well, I started with her, let's see here. I think that Jacksonville show was September of 2016. So not quite 3 years, but about
Okay.
3 years.
Yeah. And a good way to spend 3 years of your life, just absorbing all of that beauty and all of that knowledge. That's an amazing way to spend 3 years of your life. And of course, you did other things during that time as well. You were still running
Oh,
your business.
absolutely.
Yeah.
But I also think that I think it's important because a lot of us in the business, even, we love what we do. We got into it for probably the designing. Most of us, we didn't get into it because we love the business part. Well, I didn't.
No, I didn't either.
And I don't think we realize what was given to us from before. We don't think about what came before, who came before, how it came to be that we are in this business.
Mm,
And it was very eye-opening because I was one of those. I did not think about everything that came before.
right, right. That's really interesting. That's a something that really interests me, and we'll talk about that more on a personal basis. I'd love for you to be my mentor, but I can't move to Florida.
Yeah, it's better to have one close so you can
I
go to the
think so.
shows.
I think so. So you are a quilt appraiser, and is that a big part of your business, or is that something you just kind of do on the side? Is your quilt designing the main part of your business? What is the focus of your business? I know it's multi-pronged, and there's many different
It is.
aspects.
Well, I truly love the designing the most.
You
That's
do.
probably I mean, that is my favorite. I love
Okay.
designing.
Hmm.
Um, Financially or time wise, I think you have to look at it as in a calendar year. I do appraisals in my home on a one-on-one basis. If somebody needs an appointment, I'll make an appointment. I try to keep it to once a month and take the people who have inquired and kind of build them all up in one day.
Yeah.
But there's a definite quilt show season in Florida.
Yeah.
When all the snowbirds come down, that's when all the guilds want to have their shows because they'll have
Right.
more people come.
Sure. Look, Robin, I just lost your audio. Hold on just a second. It's probably on my end, but let me just double check. Oh yeah, okay. My headphones are a little flaky here. So are you back? Talk to me.
Can you hear me? Nope.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Yeah, I can.
Yeah, but not through my mic.
Okay. I'm getting you. All right. Yeah, you should be good now. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, good, good. Okay, sorry about that. All right, so I am dying for you to show me some of those quilts you have behind you. So where should we start? Should we start with that sampler quilt you made in your very first class?
Sure.
Excellent.
Let me move some things here.
It's fun to see your history. It's fun to just see how you went through your process of learning.
Well, you also have to remember, in 1999 in Puerto Rico, there were no quilt shops.
Yeah.
Whatever Walmart had, that was your selection.
Okay, good. Oh, wonderful, wonderful. So you learned a little bit of applique there on your Dresden plate. Did you
Yes.
do your grandmother's fan is also appliqued?
Um,
And you learned
Yep.
some really great piecing skills.
well, she had us do piecing, but she had us do applique in, let's see here. How did we do that? Well, this one, she had us do prepared edge with
Yes.
starch and freezer paper. And then
Okay.
on this one, we buttonhole stitched. But on this one down here, I just did a straight stitch over it. So she
Okay.
did, I mean, she was really good. She went through all of the steps that you would need to go out into the world.
Excellent.
And be a
I
quilt.
love that. I love that. That was my first class as well, was a sampler quilt.
Yep.
And I did that with my mom way back in the late 70s.
Oh,
Right.
how fun.
We had just gotten back from a tour in Italy with my dad in the military at a NATO base in Naples, Italy. So after we got back from Italy, my mom and I took our first quilting class together. And we did that very similar type of sampler quilt where you learned all different techniques. And I really credit that teacher who really gave us a great introduction to all of the different types of skills. And then from there, I really got into hand quilting and hand applique right from that first quilt. Then I've just, modified my techniques. So now I do 100% fusible blanket stitch applique on the machine. I shouldn't say 100% because I still do a little bit of everything else. Now I still even hand applique from time to time. Do you ever machine applique?
Yeah, I have to occasionally because the patterns that I
I
write,
love it. I have to.
I have to.
It's not your choice, but it is a necessity.
It's not my
sometimes.
choice, but it's a necessity. I do love the hand applique, and I will
Good.
hand applique my samples if I have time. If I don't have time, they get done on the machine. But I also write all my patterns for fusible applique.
Okay.
I don't write them for hand because the majority of appliqueurs do machine applique.
Yeah, and
So-
those patterns can be adapted either way. You've got the
Absolutely.
outline
But I
drawings.
think it's easier for hand appliqueurs to adapt than it is machine because you have to include
Absolutely.
other things like, how much fusible web do they need and
Right.
that kind of stuff.
Right.
So, yeah, so I write the patterns for fusible, but I
Okay.
prefer hand.
Oh, that's very smart, though. I love that. And that's a great aspect of your business that your patterns are applicable to either hand appliqueurs
Yes.
or fusible appliqueurs. That's great. Now, I have to ask you the magic question. What's your favorite fusible?
I use Wonder Under.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine.
It's what I started with, and well, no, that's not true. I started with Heat and Bond, which is awful. Now, when I look back then it was genius, but now I look
Yes.
back and go, oh no. But I've stuck with Wonder Under, and I'm glad I did. A few years back, they changed their formula, so it's even nicer to work with.
Okay, good. Good.
I just find it's a nice, it's an economic option for
Yes.
quilters.
Yes.
versus some of the others that are out there that work just as well. But if people are on a budget, it's a really good one for that.
Oh, that's good to know. What is the cost on Wonder Under?
Well, it's gone up, but I think it's maybe $2 a yard now.
$2 a yard? And
I
that's
think
a
so.
standard 20 inches wide?
It's 17.
17. Okay.
Yeah. But you
Okay.
know, I hate to say this because I love to support shops, but not a lot of quilt shops carry Wonder Under.
Yeah.
And so for business purposes, I usually take my coupon down to you know who and just buy a whole bolt at a time. I buy it by the bolt.
Yeah. I buy my Misty Fuse by the bolt as well, and it's running right in that price range also.
Is it?
Yeah, it's $3 a yard for the 20-inch wide.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that lends to your technique.
It really does. And
Yeah.
I love it as an all-around fusible. It's my favorite. And but I don't trace anything. So
Right.
you know,
Exactly.
I don't worry about having the paper. Although there's lots of ways to do Misty Fuse without paper, but that's a
Right.
whole other topic of conversation. Debbie West says, I started with a sampler class as well, and I've always been interested in hand applique and applique since I grew up seeing all the beautiful Baltimore album quilts. Oh yeah, Debbie, absolutely.
I
Debbie's
think that
Go
sucks
ahead.
a lot of people in. Those suck a lot of people in.
Yes. Debbie is part of our Ahead of the Curve group, where we are making Baltimore album blocks this year. So that's our block of the month that we're doing this year in our Ahead of the Curve group. So I've got it going on in 2 different colorways there. I'm going to make 2
Right.
quilts. And the project that we're working on is called Plain and Fancy Baltimore album blocks. So we can do our blocks plain and simple, or we can make them more fancy by adding more pieces, more design elements. So it's been a really fun project. So Debbie got sucked in with Baltimore album quilts once again, and she's now making this Baltimore album quilt with me. So much fun. So much fun. Thanks for commenting, Debbie. So, Robin, have you ever lived in that Baltimore area?
Yes.
You have.
But not as a quilter. I was
It
completely
was before
oblivious.
quilting.
It was actually Baltimore was my first duty station when I joined the Coast Guard. That's where I met my husband.
Oh, how fun. Nice memories then.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah. It
a
was
beautiful
a good city.
area. Good
Mhm.
city. Excellent. So go ahead and show me one of your more recent quilts, because I'd really like to see how your style maybe has evolved.
Well, to see how it evolved, I got to show you the first weird one.
Okay, that sounds great. Whatever you have to show us, you
Okay.
lead me through your quilts.
This is the very first pattern I ever wrote because a quilt shop owner pushed me to. She says, well, it was supposed to get published and then it didn't.
Uh-huh.
And then a quilt shop owner said, you should write a pattern. And I thought, what? I didn't know what that meant.
Right.
So first pattern.
Oh, look at him. Isn't he adorable?
I don't know if you can hear it. He has a little jingle bell
He's got a
because he's
little
called
jingle
Jingle
bell.
Penguin.
Oh, that's sweet. I recognize those fabrics. I have some of those.
Old fabric.
Yeah.
So now I think you'll be able to see. That's where I started. I started doing cute, small, little wall hangings. And as my skills progressed, the patterns progressed.
Yes.
But now I do things like this.
Oh, what fun. Look how beautiful. So it's got some piecing in there, which is really appealing to some of our quilters. But then you've embellished it with amazing hand applique. Love those shapes and those designs. So pretty.
This is probably one of the busier pieces I've ever done. I've used a lot of different fabrics in here, which I usually try to keep things very tone on tone. And this was published in Simply Vintage, maybe in 2019, something like that.
Just gorgeous, Robin. Do you do your own machine quilting?
I did on this one. I don't
Excellent.
normally.
You don't normally. You have somebody that quilts for you.
For big pieces, yes. I can't. I'm not good at quilting. Finding out the like. I'll say that looking at this one. This is probably one of the best jobs I've ever done.
Oh, it looks fabulous.
Yeah, I love the quilting on this one, but I don't normally do that well because when I see all that blank space, I don't know what to do there.
Mm-hmm.
So it's easier for me to just take them and have somebody else do that part. They love that.
Yeah, we all have our strengths, and we've got to stay where our strengths are when we're in business, because you've got to put your energy where it's best applied for you, which is making your patterns.
So
all right. I see something else really pretty behind you.
So I have a class called Fabric Collaborations. I have a hard time booking it because I think people are a little, either they don't understand the concept or they're put off by the design aspect of it, which upsets me because it's so much fun. And everybody who has ever taken the class just, they love it. They rave about it. They have so much fun. I call it kindergarten for grown-ups. That's to me the class is.
That's great. I love it.
And so this particular piece and the one behind me and the one there too that I'll show were both part of a challenge that Florida Quilt Study Group did. And the challenge was to take an antique block and design, these are 24 inches, I believe. And they ended up going into an exhibit at the Quilters Hall of Fame.
Oh, excellent.
So the block that we were given was this block here in the middle.
Yeah. Do you remember the name of that one?
I want to say it's a dove in the window.
That sounds about right. Yep. Yep.
Okay, so that particular block is from 1880, 1890, somewhere in that time frame.
So that's the actual old block. You weren't just given the block name, you were given an old block to
Yes.
start with.
We were
Excellent.
given an old block and we could do whatever we wanted with it.
Okay.
So on this one, I left it intact. And then I added, these are all new fabrics around it.
Beautiful.
But in this brown, you won't be able to see. The funny thing is, this flower that's here, I already had something like that in my computer. I had already designed something that was very similar. And when I got this block, that flower is in
the
that
fabric
fabric from the
How
1800s.
cool.
So I was able to take and bring that design out into the rest of the quilt.
I love that.
On this one, same block, but I cut it
Oh,
up.
yes. Yes, it is the same
So
block.
here it really goes this way.
Oh, sweet. So you just took out one corner and brought it to the top. How fun.
And then in here, what you're seeing, these flowers are bits and pieces from the fabric in here. This fabric down in here has this flower in it.
Excellent.
And that's why the class is called Fabric Collaborations, because you collaborate with the fabric designer to create a one-off unique piece that's all yours.
I love
That's
it.
it. And it's
I love
fun. And I have people will say, oh, I don't know how to draw. You don't have to know how to draw. I have all kinds of hacks for you.
Oh, sure.
And it's just so much fun.
That sounds
So-
fabulous.
I love it when guilds do it. But last year I actually ran it as an open enrollment, as a Zoom class.
Oh, okay.
And I'll be doing that again later this year because there are people out there that don't belong to guilds,
Mm-hmm.
that love to take classes, and having the opportunity to give them that via Zoom is the one amazing gift COVID gave us. I'll say that.
That's one of the questions I wrote down for you this morning, Robin. How has this COVID positively impacted your business? I don't like to think about the negatives. I like to think about all the positive ways it's impacted me.
I think that'd be the one thing. One, obviously we all lost business through COVID, but I also gained different business.
Yeah.
I took a class with Lyric Kennard about how to do virtual teaching.
Yep.
Which I have not fully put into practice, but I have done it a couple of times. And I love that I can meet people from all over the world taking a class, and we're all doing something we love, and we're all kind of just in our own space, sewing in slippers, basically. You don't have to pack up your machine. And so I think that was probably the biggest positive, was learning tech that I probably would not have learned otherwise.
Absolutely. Same for me. That's the same
Yeah.
for me. And I've built my new business around that concept of teaching
Okay.
online, and that's been a huge positive for me. I get to sew in my slippers. I get to do that with people over and over again, not just once. It's not that I meet them once and then I never see them again like I did at the shows.
Right.
And yeah, that's been a really positive impact on my business. So good. I'm glad you mentioned that because I had thought about asking you that question. I'm going to ask you a similar question. What's the biggest plus for turning your hobby into your business?
Oh, good question. Biggest positive.
Because I know there are negatives as well, but we like to focus on the positive here.
I don't know. Let's see. From a tax perspective, I can write off some of my expenses.
There you go.
And also, you know, from the husband perspective, I can say, oh, that's for business. I have to have that. I don't know. I think that turning the hobby, not that if you were a hobbyist, not that you couldn't have done all the things I've done, but turning it into a business has allowed me to, well, I've grown as a person hugely. I know who I was before and I know what I've done. And so I've accomplished things I never imagined I would accomplish.
Wonderful.
I've met amazing people along the way. This business, I don't know, you just get to meet so many people and do things that you wouldn't have done otherwise.
Yeah.
So I think probably personal growth. Honestly, it's probably the personal growth.
Oh,
That's what I've gotten out of it.
Excellent answer. I love that.
Yeah.
That's fabulous. Well, I want to see your next quilt with that star on it. I want you to tell me about that one. Is that also from that same class?
No, actually, I had been published earlier on, maybe around 2010 or so, and then I did market for a few years, and you know, you get the ebb and flow of the business, and I kind of walked away from publishing as far as submitting to magazines. Mm-hmm. I'd gotten enough rejections and I thought, okay, I don't need to think about that right now. So I moved on. And somewhere along the way, I designed this quilt and I absolutely loved it. It's all hand applique, all hand quilted. And I was working away on it when I met the editor of American Quilter magazine at a show, and we were talking, and she said, well, I would love to see what you're working on. I said, okay. So I sent her pictures of this in process. And she said, we love it. We want to do the 5-issue series of it.
Oh, good.
And this is the one that jumped me back into getting published and doing more magazine work.
Okay, great.
So, let's see.
Yeah, that's a big one. You might just have to stand for that one. Oh, I love it already, and I can't even see the half of it. Oh, how beautiful. I love it. So it's a sampler, but it's not.
It has 6 blocks. So
Yep.
Those are the first 2.
Mm-hmm.
And then, let's see.
Oh, look at that part one. That's close to my
Those
heart
2.
right there.
And then the last 2 are there.
Beautiful. And a beautiful border treatment top and bottom. I love it.
And that one's called Robin's Wreaths.
Mm-hmm.
Because they were just, I don't know, they were mine. I made each one different. So I thought I'd name it that. And it has the pattern. It's a PDF pattern on my Etsy shop, or it's also in my regular shop as a hard copy. Okay, and then it also has a miniature. You can purchase just a miniature embroidered one.
Now, Robin, that's something that we haven't talked about yet. You are quite the expert of embroidery as well as hand applique and hand quilting. You love the embroidery, I can tell.
Oh, it's handwork.
Yes, any type of handwork you love. Now, you're teaching a class called Introduction to Embroidery. Is that true?
I have it's not really a class, I guess. This year I did a calendar for the first time.
Okay.
So when they purchased the calendar, oops, let me get this out of the back. It has 12 designs.
Oh.
And they're this size. So they fit on a 4-inch block, basically.
Fantastic.
So every month they get a design. And then on the back of the card, the first few months of the year talk about embroidery as an introduction, like what materials do you need? What kind of threads do you use? And right now, just last month, we finally got into the stitches. Yay.
Oh, good. Good.
So every month I do a video. It's like 5-6 minutes tops. It's on my YouTube channel and I send it out in my newsletter. So anybody who wants to sign up for my newsletter, if you go to my website, nestlingsbyrobin.com, there'll be a little pop-up window at the top and they can sign up.
Okay, great. I'm going to
And that's how they get notified every month that the video is up, and it has the link to YouTube so they can go over there and take a peek at what we're talking about.
Okay,
And I just do a real quick, this is what the stitch is. I just do a couple stitches. I don't get real in depth about it because right now we're doing the simple stitches. So it's real easy. And we'll go through. Last month we did running stitch. This month was back stitch. Next month outline. And then it'll progress from there and get a little bit harder.
Excellent.
Yeah. So it's just fun because I love doing them. And every month also has tips like, what do you do with a 4-inch embroidery? It seems, what would you do with it? So there's different things like making an ornament.
Oh, how pretty.
I love these little hangers from Tim Holtz. So look at just like little mini quilts on a hanger.
Oh, so sweet.
Yeah.
Tim Holtz is one of my favorite designers.
Oh my
gosh.
gosh.
His fabric.
I know all of his stuff. He's got, just walk into his scrapbooking section in any of the big stores and I want it all. I want all the little doodads and the charms and the things that I'll never use, but I want them.
I'm totally with you on that, Robin. I loved it. Fantastic. That's one more thing that we have in common. We have a similar aesthetic. We have a similar style.
I know.
Love all that you do. I would say you have a little influence from that Jacobean style. Does that sound right?
Jacobean and Nouveau. I love the Art Nouveau styles. Yeah. So, technically on the website or somebody wants a bio and I have to say, what's your style? I'll say, well, whimsical traditional. But
okay.
It is. It's whimsical traditional. Yeah. But if I were really, just being goofy me, I would say swirly, twirly, flowery, fun, swirly, twirly, flowery. That's me.
I love it. Now, you have a lot of flowers in your designs, and I'm all about the flowers as well. Yeah. Are you a gardener? Or are you a frustrated gardener? You're a gardener in your quilts.
No, I kill my brain is always thinking about the business, the quilting. Living things die around here. I just don't, my brain doesn't go, I raised 2 kids and I didn't hurt them and they're off in the world and they have to feed themselves now. So I
love it.
I know you're a gardener. I was completely fascinated by that little plant app that you had. I won't get one, but I am. It's like, I think of you every time I'm out walking the dog and I see a new flower, I've got to take a picture of them. I'm like, man, that plant app would be really handy right now. Where's Sue?
It is so helpful. It's called Picture This, and I love it. There's a million of them out there, but Picture This is a fun one where you can take a picture of any plant.
Yeah.
And it tells you about what it is, and you can add it to your garden. You can add it to your list of favorites. So much fun. So, yeah, I'm a gardener as well as a quilter, but I kill everything too. Mother Nature has to help. So if they're outdoor perennials, I can grow them. If they're in the house or they're annuals, I will kill them. If they're in a pot, forget it. So yeah, when I started years and years ago, and I had to choose a handle for my what was it? It wasn't Facebook. I don't know. It was one of the original apps that I was using, or the web-based resources that I was using. I chose the handle of Sue Quilts Gardens, and that's been the same ever since, kind of my username for that particular app that I was using.
That's perfect.
That's what I do. I do. When I'm a frustrated gardener, when I can't grow things outside, I put them on my quilts because I just want to be surrounded by beauty and gardens and flowers for my whole life. So that's what it's all about
understand.
For me.
Oh, I completely get that. And that's just it. I mean, these are the these are the flowers that don't die.
Right.
I don't have to worry about them. Every morning I walk in here, those tulips look great.
I love it. And they're beautiful all winter long. Now, you're in Florida, but I'm in frigid New England. And so when I can't be out in the garden, I just surround myself with these beautiful fabrics and these beautiful quilts. So, Robin, we have so much in common, and I love that. Yet, we're so different in our business worlds, and even in our design aesthetic, it's different. You can definitely tell a Nestlings by Robin quilt versus something that I've done. And that's what's so neat about being a quilt designer.
Absolutely.
You have your own style that's recognizable. I could spot one of your quilts a mile away, I think. Oh, so beautiful. So beautiful. Well, I have another question for you. Do you
Okay.
have any quilters in your family?
Yes and no. Not way back.
Mm-hmm.
My grandmother learned to quilt during the Bicentennial Revival, which is, that was the big revival in this country that got everybody back on quilting. And so she had made me like a little Holly Hobby doll quilt way back when, and it's somewhere in the house. I couldn't tell you where.
Oh, you still have it. That's so sweet.
I got it back when I was going through some of her stuff after she passed, because right before she passed, she handed me a box of stuff saying, here. And one was 1970s calico strip quilt blocks, which, what am I going to do with those? But I tell people this all the time, because one of my lectures is called How Hard Could It Be? Mm-hmm. And even though the lecture is my journey of how I got into quilting and where I've gone, there's this running thread in there of try it. How hard could it be?
Right.
What we do is not rocket science. I'm not a neurosurgeon. It's quilting. It's some fabric. You can't mess it up.
Right.
And so I used her blocks to try strip piecing, because I had never done it. And I thought, I'll finish the quilt for her. No, I finished 2 more blocks and I was like, all right, been there, done that. Assembled it. It's a cute little wall hang.
There you go.
And then she had a whole box. She had done a whole puff quilt of bicentennial fabrics.
Okay.
And it was already apart. She had started to take it apart to redo some of it because the fabrics had faded. And I took it apart, made a smaller piece for me, made a small piece for my mother. And then I took some of the actual fabrics and made this cute little.
Oh, that is beautiful. Is that just a table topper?
Just a table topper. It's English paper pieced, and it has those bicentennial fabrics on it.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
So that was just a fun way to use what she had given me. So that's kind of where quilting started. I think on my dad's side, somebody made something, and it was like a basic wool utility quilt that got car auto oil on it or something. My mother learned to quilt the year before I learned to quilt, but she's a master knitter. And when I started actually designing and making quilts, I think she feels a little, I don't know. She says, I can't compete with what you do. I'm like, it's not a competition.
It's not a competition.
Just make what you love. But she really loves to knit. So that's mostly what she does. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Isn't
so
that funny? We have all artists in my family as well. My mom's a quilter, and we always did that together. My sister is a fine artist. She just won the national watercolor competition.
Awesome.
And yeah. So that's pretty amazing. And then my other sister is an amazing crocheter. Oh my gosh, her work is just incredible. But we all kind of have our zone because we didn't want to compete with each other.
I know. Isn't that funny? Yeah.
And it's totally not a competition, but it's nice to shine in the area that you have worked on, your whole life. So that's wonderful that you really shine in your quilting, and she really shines in her knitting. Very cool.
And I have 2 daughters, and neither one of them want to quilt, but one is a crocheter and one's a cross stitcher. So
fantastic. They
did
their
pick
way.
up the handwork, yes, just not in quilting. So
yeah, okay. I love that. We all need to have our little special area of our life, and that thing that really you go to when you need the calm, when you need that that whoosh of calm that just quilting brings to me every time.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm glad your daughters have found that. I'm waiting for my daughter to find her thing. She's a school teacher, and there's a lot of stress in that job, and she needs her thing. Her thing is theater. So she has her thing, but it's not handwork.
Yeah, that's why my youngest picked up crochet, because she's an RN, very high stress job, and you find a lot of that in nursing and teaching. They have to have something to do that's quiet.
Yeah, I love that. That's great. So, is there any Is there a size of quilt that you generally lean towards when you're designing? Do you do more wall hangings, more big quilts, or is there a wide variety of sizes in your pattern line?
It's usually dictated by the design, but I do tend to, it seems like the majority of my quilts are about the size of that one on the wall, which I think is between 50 and 60 inches.
Okay, perfect. That's a nice wall quilt size.
It
Lap
is.
quilt
It's
size.
big. You can do a lot with it. Your
Yep.
applique doesn't have to be too little.
Mm-hmm.
I do find that the magazines and some of the catalogs now are pushing back. They want more bed quilts, but it's,
Really?
well, it's interesting because you know how trends are. And so quilting world, we have these ups and downs. And I remember, just a handful of years ago, one of the magazines telling me that their readership was writing back and telling them they have enough bed quilts. They want more wall hangs.
Yep.
And now the readership is saying, we have enough wall hangs. We need more bed quilts. So we're kind of looping back around. And so my requests from editors are, can you make that's a great design. Can you make it bigger? And I go, oh, I can. I don't want to. I can.
Yeah, I mean, big quilts with hand applique is a lot. It's a lot of work.
It's a lot. The one I'm doing now is 64 by 70 something, I think.
Oh, that's
so it'll be a nice lap quilt size.
Yeah, that's a nice size. I love that size.
But it has 16 blocks plus 2 borders, and it's a lot of applique and embroidery. It has both on it, but I love it. So
fun. Oh, I'm dying to see that one. That's your latest project for a magazine?
Yeah, that's what I have. Yeah, that's what I'm working on now. That I can't show. I know there's so much secret sewing that we can't show.
That's okay. I'll just have you as a guest at another time, and then you'll be able to show us what you're working on now.
Oh, but I even mean just in general, there are times, you've been through it. There are times where you're just working on something, you love it so much and you'd love to show the world, but you can't. And it's so hard to sit on it.
I don't do that. I don't
Ever?
do that.
You've never done it?
No.
Oh.
No, I'm an open book. I like you, I get so excited about showing what I'm doing that I don't do the whole big wait and I'm going to do a big reveal thing. Everybody sees what I'm doing as I go on Facebook and Instagram, and then I do put them together into a pattern later, like this one right here. I'm working on this block by block as we go, and eventually that will be a course and it will be a pattern, but right now everybody gets to see it as I'm stumbling through it, and that's part of the process too, isn't it? Not everything comes out perfectly the first time through, and I love to show that because it takes some of the intimidation out of it for your students when they see that you weren't perfect at it the first time you made that block either. You might have need to redesign something or make it again. Your colors didn't work out the way you thought they were going to. So to me, that's all part of the process. So that's one of the things that's different about me is I am totally an open book. Everybody sees what I'm working on as it happens, because I'm not working for I'm not doing anything with the magazines where they need that big reveal, right? It's all just me and my website, and I just take me as I am.
Well, I was thinking about doing that for the block of the month that I'm going to do later in the year. Is that, should I show it all up front or should I just do it as a mystery? And I don't know. The research that I've done, it's kind of 50-50. There are some people that love a mystery, and there are some people that say, no, I need to know ahead of time what I'm doing or I can't do it.
Exactly. So you're never going to please everybody. So you have to do it the easiest way for you.
Exactly.
And the best way for me is to do it as we go. So I'm designing the patterns with my students as we go. And then once everybody falls in love with it, I'm like, okay, this is a winner. We're going to put this out for other people. So you get to the best of both worlds that way.
Exactly.
You get the people that enjoy the process. And then afterwards, you get the people that enjoy the product. Right?
Right.
So yeah, it's fun to do it that way too. Because it's a lot less stress of trying to get everything done ahead of time. And I've done it both ways. My next, it's not a block of the month, but my next quilt along is the one behind me that we're starting in June. And, that way people get to see exactly what they're going to make. It's already done, it's already there. But my members and my students are doing this one with me, which is more, take it as it comes. I only release each pattern a month or two ahead to show them what they're going to be making.
Okay.
So both ways work, and it's fun both ways. And I do it both ways depending on who is taking the class, who I'm trying to appeal to.
Right.
Yeah, excellent. Robin, I could talk to you all day long. This has been so much fun to hear about your business, to hear about a little bit about your personal life and how you became a quilter. I love your designs. I am a big Nestlings by Robin fan. And I just want to point out to all of our listeners out there that we do have in the comments and here on the screen, nestlingsbyrobin.com is your website. Now, you also mentioned you have an Etsy shop. Is that where you sell your PDF patterns?
Yes, I have PDF downloads in Etsy.
Okay, so you don't do PDF patterns on your website, just on Etsy.
Right.
Okay, cool. And then we can also find you on Facebook, on Instagram, and all of those places are there in the comments. So if you want to follow Robin, if you want to get her newsletter where she has all those great embroidery tutorials, go to nestlingsbyrobin.com, sign up to be on her list, and you're going to be able to follow all of the beautiful work that Robin is doing. Now, Robin, I have one more thing I wanted to chat with you about. We're running out of time, but I want to get this in because it's so fun to talk about. You are working as a Bernatex's ambassador. What does that mean exactly? What does it mean to be a fabric company ambassador?
Well, they send me beautiful fabric to work with.
Oh,
and
my
I
goodness, what a
get to design
dream.
new things to play with. And they have us on a schedule. So once a quarter, we've been releasing, there's 12 of us. And once a quarter, you get, I personally, each designer does a new design. And then we're doing 2 group projects. So we did a group project in January for tote bags, and we're going to do a group Christmas in July project. So coming July, you're going to get to see fun Christmas projects that you can get started on early for your gift list.
Okay, perfect. So that sounds like a dream come true. A fabric company sends you beautiful fabric and then you get to play.
Yes.
What fun.
That's the gist of it right now.
Unfortunately, there is a schedule and there is a commitment where you have to get things done.
There's still work to be done.
There is work to be done, but boy, what fun. So that just sounds fabulous. And congratulations on being chosen to be a Bernatex's ambassador. Debbie says, I'm doing a murder mystery quilt. We get fabric selection info at the start of the year, which helps you plan, and then a block each month with a new chapter. It's the 3rd year she chose to do this. And somebody else says, I've been burned by a couple of mysteries.
See?
It's a huge time commitment for an unknown result. I am totally on board with that. I've never, ever done a mystery. I've never partaken in a mystery. But my students trust me enough to know that we're going to end up with a beautiful quilt in the end of our kind of mystery. What I did was I designed in EQ. So we had kind of a goal of this is basically what our quilt is going to be. And along the way, I've changed every single block to further. Well, you can design it in EQ, and then when you applique it, it's a whole different animal. So those blocks have been changed along the way. But they did have an idea of what we were going for in this almost in Baltimore quilt. So I totally understand that because I've never partaken in a mystery. I do not want to be surprised by a quilt in the end and then say, oh, well, if I had known, I would have chosen different fabrics or I would have done it in a different scale. The pieces are too big, the pieces are too small. I don't want to be surprised by any of that. I want to know that my time is well spent. So I appreciate all of the different
Yeah.
perspectives. Some people love them and some people do not like doing mystery. That is really, it's really telling that two people commented and they had two different, totally different points of view.
Well, I think it goes back to what you said earlier about finding your tribe. The people follow you because they love your aesthetic and what you design. And same with me. And I mean, I know me, I wouldn't want to take a mystery. So
Right.
even though I think about it, I know that's not for me. So it's probably not for my followers.
Yeah, yeah. Now, Robin, one thing that we differ on is I use EQ to design. Do you use EQ or do you use a different
No.
program? Or do you do it by hand?
I started by hand and then I went to Corel because when I had one of the old EQs years back, it was not designer friendly, I should say. It's not
Yes.
designer friendly for applique.
Right.
And so I went ahead and switched over to Corel where I can do everything in vector and make it as big or as small as I want. And yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'd love to learn that, but I do struggle through EQ, and I've learned to make it work for me. But it was a challenge. It's been years of a learning curve. Hey, I have a request from you.
Okay.
Do you have any tips? What are your favorite tips to share with your applique quilters? Do you have anything to share as far as just something that saves you a lot of time or something that you think every quilter should know but doesn't?
Not for that type of stuff. I mean, I like to get everything ready ahead of time. So a lot of times I will pre-cut, pre-fuse, or not pre-fuse, but I can pre-baste.
Yeah.
I can get all the steps put together and all my supplies so that if I need to grab something real quick to go on the road, I have work with me. There'll be an article in American Quilter this summer called Putting Together a Go Bag, basically, because I'm all about the go bag. I'm all about having a little pouch of all my fun tools and everything put together so that if I'm heading somewhere, I can just snag it and go.
I love that. That's great. So that's a fabulous tip. I know that this is going to be an article in American Quilter, but any little preview of what is in your go bag? Any like must-have tools for an applique quilter?
Oh, for me, must have are the needles, the thread, Roxanne glue based it, small 1/4-inch ruler. I like to have small 1/4-inch rulers just in case I'm hand piecing instead of hand appliquing.
Yeah.
I have embroidery needles in there, little tiny scissors, my Karen K Buckley scissors, the green ones with the, actually, do I have those here?
I know exactly the
These,
ones you mean.
look, they match my shirt.
Yeah.
These right here that have the little serrated tip,
Yeah.
best scissors ever for anybody who does small work.
Okay, excellent. I can't leave without my applique scissors. Those are my favorite.
Those are good scissors.
They're also micro serrated, and I just love my applique scissors. It's funny how every quilter has her own go-to tools. What are your best needles for hand applique? What's your favorite needle?
I actually use the straw needles by Jenna Kimball. Foxglove Cottage, that's her company name.
Kimball. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know those, of course, because I don't hand applique.
Oh, but they're lovely.
The straw
They're long.
needles.
Yeah, they're straw needles. I like the longer needles better.
Long and thin.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yep. I use straw needles as well, but I use the ones from Bowen.
Okay.
Yeah, but okay, I'll have to look up the Jenna Kimball ones because everybody is an appliquer and they just don't realize it. How do you put on your bindings, right? It's an applique stitch. You're appliquing the back of that binding. So you're already an appliquer even if you don't know it. So using those straw needles for your binding is fabulous. And that's going to really perfect that applique stitch for you so that you can gain the confidence you need to do it on the front of your quilts as well. So,
and I think people get too wound up by this attitude we've put into the quilting industry of perfectionism.
Yeah.
I think we go to the shows and we see these gorgeous, perfect quilts and I hear it when you're standing in the aisle at a show. This is why I don't bother. I can't do that.
Yeah.
So they don't bother. And when I'm in classes, I tell people all the time, it's not that I advocate for mediocrity, but I don't think perfectionism is the way to go either. This
No,
is supposed to be something to relax you and enjoy the process.
Exactly, and it is a process.
It is.
And the more you do it, the more you can strive for that perfection.
Yeah.
But it's not the end result that is so important to
No.
me. It's the process.
Yes.
Yeah.
I agree.
Oh, good. I love that. We have so much in common, Robin. I could talk with you all day long, but our time is
I
up.
know.
That hour just flew by.
And I said that to you at Quillville. I had to be real nice and not be all fangirl on you, like, oh, it's her.
Well, it's been such a pleasure to meet with you today.
Yes,
If you
thank
want to
you.
follow Robin on her website, we've got it right there, nestlingsbyrobin.com. And if you are more interested in fusible applique, you can absolutely follow me. I'm at SuePellandDesigns.com. And tomorrow, I didn't even tell you this, Robin. Tomorrow, I'm going to be doing a demonstration of my fusible applique methods. We're going to start with steps 1, 2, and 3. That's the whole
Cool.
process. We're going to do fusing with Misty Fuse, how to do that the right way, how to use Misty Fuse even though it doesn't have a paper backing. So we're going to start with fusing. Then we're going to talk about rotary cutting your applique shapes, cutting up to 12 shapes at a time so your cutting is faster and easier and there's no need for scissors. Then the third step is blanket stitching that applique. Now there's a million ways to sew your applique, but we're going to demonstrate blanket stitch applique tomorrow. We have 2 sessions at 2 o'clock and at 7 in the evening. So that's 2 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Eastern. We're going to do the same thing both times. So come once, come twice. You're going to see the 3 steps to easy fusible applique. It's called Applique Made Easy, and you can sign up right on my website. I'm going to show that for a minute. It's SuePellandDesigns.com. There's a little box to click on the top, and you're going to be signed up for Applique Made Easy. Come at 2, come at 7, learn how to make applique in the easiest way possible. If you love handwork, you're going to want to follow Robin. If you love doing applique by machine, or you think you're going to like it, come to the demo and I'll show you what it's all about so that you can decide which method is going to work best for you. You want to make these beautiful applique quilts. We're going to find the method that works best for you. Robin can help you with that. I can help you with that. And you can share this amazing world of applique quilts. Robin, it's been such a pleasure. This has been fun.
It's really was.
Let's do it again when you can share some more of your designs.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, take care, Robin. See you soon.
Bye. Take care.
Bye-bye.